Hello and welcome back to my channel. It's the first day of a new week, so a new vlog. So this reading vlog is continuing Becca's BookoplAthon, and I have 2 books to finish and multiple books to start because I'm a bit behind. So to start with, I'm going to be finishing The Radium Girls by Kate Moore and Ghostwritten by David Mitchell. These are both great and I'm really enjoying them. The Radium Girls is about the girls who worked with radium in factories in the 1914 to 1925 roughly, and it follows what happened to them and the illnesses they contracted and then the legal battle they fought against their employer to prove that radium was what had made them ill. Ghostwritten is described as a novel in 9 parts. It's 9 short stories that intertwine and intersect to create a novel. And again, it's very interesting and I'm really enjoying it. So these 2 are the 2 books I'm hoping to finish. I'm hoping to finish these quite quickly, especially Ghostwritten. I'm up to short story 5, so I've only got 4 to go. So I mean, maybe I'll finish it today, we'll see, maybe not. And then The Radium Girls I'm hoping to read more of today and finish early this week. I then have a little heap of other books that I want to read that I don't think I'm going to get to this week, but that I'm going to choose from when I come to choosing a new book. So there's Interview with a Vampire by Anne Rice. This is the one I think that I will probably end up choosing. Just dropped it. Then there's The Age of Innocence by Edith Wharton. Again, I need to read this. I'm trying to put the books that'll take me longer higher up on my TBR. But Maurice by E.M. Forster. This is quite short, so that's great. This is only 200 pages. And then once I finish The Radium Girls, I'm going to start The Scandalous Lady W. So this is the only one that is actually certainly on the list. This is about a divorce case in the 18th century, which was incredibly highly publicized and shocked Georgian England. So those are my books to start with. I will talk about them all more as I get further into this vlog, but to start with, I'm going to be reading Ghostwritten and The Radium Girls today. I'm about to go and edit last week's vlog and do some studying. I'm still doing, if you watched my vlog last week, I think I mentioned that I'm doing a course about the book and medieval manuscripts. I'm still doing that. My studying / editing breaks, I will be reading. Hello. It's still the first day of this vlog. It's still Monday, but I had a surprise today. Doorbell rang and I went to get it, and it was a parcel and it was for me, and it was a copy of Cemetery Boys that I do have on Kindle and audiobook, but I've pre-ordered it as well and clearly forgot I pre-ordered it, and now it's arrived. And honestly, this book is stunning. Look at the naked cover, beautiful, and the real cover as well is, I mean, not the real cover, the dust jacket, that's what they're called. The dust jacket is also really beautiful, and I can't wait to read this. I've just heard such good things about it, and I think it's gonna win my poll pick, so I might end up starting it this week. Cemetery Boys is about a young man who is trying to prove his gender identity to his family, and men in his family have a magic that is different to women's magic. So he decides to use this magic to prove his identity and summons a ghost to help him, the ghost of his cousin. But he summons the wrong ghost, and he summons the ghost of Fool's like troublemaker who's determined to prove that he was killed in something bad, like I think determined to prove he was murdered, and the story goes from that. I don't know if I'll be reading this physically because since I do have it on Kindle, if it does get picked, which I'm fairly sure it will, it's currently got 55% of the vote out of 4 books, but if it does get picked I might end up leaving it until I've finished all my other physical books that I only have as physical books, and then maybe pick it up either physically or Kindly, ebookly. I haven't done much yet this morning. Well, I've done quite a lot of work, but I haven't done anything overly interesting. I haven't done anything overly interesting. I've read a tiny bit more of Ghostwritten. I've read 1 more of the short stories, but I'll talk more about all of that later. Now I'm gonna go and edit my vlog from last week. I've just uploaded all my clips and it's quite long, and this isn't even the full thing because the final few clips haven't exported to my laptop yet. So this could take me a while to edit. Hi, it's, what's the day? It's not Friday, it's Tuesday, yeah, it's Tuesday, it's definitely Tuesday. That only took me nearly 40 seconds. Tuesday, and I have some pretty great reading updates. So I have some reading updates, namely that I've managed to actually finish some books. The first one was The Radium Girls by Kate Moore, and it's amazing. I loved it. It's the only non-fiction that's ever made me cry. It's really good. I really recommend it. I've talked about what it's about quite a lot, but it's brilliant. The way it's written is really good, and in general, this is one excellent non-fiction. It is quite gruesome in places. I've talked about this a lot in my last vlog. It's very dark, and there is a lot of description of some quite grim things that happen to these women's bodies, but in general, this is amazing. Really recommend it. I've just finished editing last week's vlog, and I filmed the final clip at 6:30 a.m. and I'm really bad at talking then, and it appears that I'm equally bad at talking at whatever the time is now, like midnight PM, at like midnight, so sorry about the terrible quality of my clips. On to the next book I read, Ghostwritten by David Mitchell. Again, I give it 5 out of 5 stars. So as I've said before, this is 9 short stories that form a novel, and I have so many questions. I really liked how it all came together at the end. I thought that was very clever. I also liked how it left me with rather more questions than I went in with, and how entangled I got in each of the characters' lives. Also, I did some research because this book would not leave me alone, and I did some research, and characters in this show up in the Bone Clocks, which I've read, but also characters from The Thousand Autumns of Jacob Desert kind of show up in the Bone Clocks, and the 3 books have this really cool little interplay, which is really awesome. I really like that. This is a really great book, and I really recommend it, especially if you like books like House of Leaves by Mark Z. Danielowski. If you like that, I feel like this will be right up your alley. It has the same kind of unreal vibe to it, and the same thing of really confusing and kind of comes together but not quite, and you've got to make the final few leaps yourself. I don't know what to read now because I kind of want to read something quite light and fluffy because my brain's a bit frazzled after those 2, but I have a TBR to get through, and I abandoned my TBR last week, and I will not be making that mistake again because I'm beginning to panic about how long it is. So I think my next 2 reads, and I'm hoping to finish both of these before the week is out, are going to be Interview with a Vampire by Anne Rice and The Scandalous Lady W by Hallie Rubenhold. I'm going to explain what both of these are about in the morning when I'm not quite so befuddled with fatigue and the weird ache you get from staring at a computer screen for about 15 hours. Hello and good morning. It's another day. It's why do I always struggle to remember the day? I think it's Wednesday. It is Wednesday. My next read is Interview with a Vampire by Anne Rice. Interview with the Vampire. Sorry, I keep saying a vampire, but that's not the title. I read 35 pages of this last night. It's interesting. So this is about a boy and a vampire in a room together, and the boy has a tape recorder and is recording the vampire who is talking about his life and him becoming a vampire. And I was wrong because I said that this was told from the perspective of the vampire Lestat, and it's not. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right. Lestat, the very famous vampire from Anne Rice's books, is in it, but is not the main character. I've forgotten the name of the main character, which is a really good start, but yeah, it's not Lestat. It's very interesting because the vampire isn't really a very nice person, and I think is quite an unreliable narrator, so I'm very interested to see how that combines with the whole audio format, because he's giving his entire life story, beginning in the 1700s and ending, I assume, in the 1980s, as that is when he meets the boy. So unless there's time travel involved, I assume it'll end then. I'm also today going to start The Scandalous Lady W because, again, I need to get through this. One part of me is wondering if this will be quite a quick read, but another part of me feels like it'll be very difficult to read in places and quite dense. So we will see. It is quite short again. It's only 308 pages with all the notes and stuff, so it should not take me too long. I am hoping to finish both of these before the end of the week, and then maybe we will see. But I would like to get through, or at least start, another book on my TBR because I'm quite behind. So I'd quite like to start either Maurice or The Age of Innocence. Then, once again, because I'm incapable of only reading books from my TBR, I've been listening to an audiobook that has been How to Be an Anti-Racist by Ibram X Kendi. I've been listening to this for several months now, but I'm nearly at the end of it, so I thought I'd talk about it in this vlog, and it is brilliant. I cannot recommend this book enough. How to Be an Anti-Racist is about being an anti-racist and dismantling the different areas of racism. Each chapter looks at a different area, and a lot of the chapters do combine to give a bigger picture, and it's really brilliant. It's really well written. I'm really enjoying listening to it. It's narrated by Ibram X Kendi, and he is a really excellent narrator, so I really recommend, if you can, listening to the audiobook. So yes, I'm listening to that and I really recommend it. I have 3 chapters left. When I finish How to Be an Anti-Racist, I will probably pick up the audiobook of Cemetery Boys. But for now, the physical books I'm reading are Interview with a Vampire and The Scandalous Lady W even. And I would like to read either Maurice or The Age of Innocence before the end of the week. Today's plan is studying. I want to do more of the course I'm doing that I talked about in last week's vlog. I'm now up to the module The Book in the 17th and 18th Century, which again looks very interesting, even if not quite as interesting as medieval manuscript. That's just because I'm a massive fan of manuscripts. It is quite late already, but I'm planning to read for half an hour before I get started. Yes, this is a form of procrastination. No, I will not be stopped. And then I will get into work. I'm trying to upload my vlog as we speak from last week. I tried uploading it overnight and only 8% of it did upload, which is brilliant. Thanks, computer and internet, super helpful. So it will be up by the time that this vlog is up, almost certainly. So I will link that down below. So yesterday I read 147 pages even of that Interview with a Vampire, which is all of part 1 and about half of the book. I'm intending to finish it today because it's only around 300 pages, so I've only got 150 pages to go. In Interview with a Vampire, we follow Louis, who gets turned into a vampire by Lestat. And Lestat is the typical kind of evil vampire, and Louis is much more driven by guilt. He wonders, like, what is the meaning of life? He's your kind of typical brooding, scholarly, immortal, kind of horrible person. Like, honestly, he's quite boring to be in his head all the time because he spends half his time in moral quandaries, but it is still really fun. I really like Lestat. Vampires are just hot. Well, obviously they're very cold, but like, something about vampires, they're just sexier than human beings, and I think most of the vampires in this kind of have that essence. Obviously disregarding, there's a child vampire in this, and obviously disregarding that, the 2 adult ones have this kind of like sensuality that I just love. I love that about vampire novels, when they have that kind of, the kind of graceful, evil, you know, sexuality that just oozes out of them. It's quite a lot like Crimson Peak. I think I just have a thing for like gothic horror, and in general I'm a very big fan of that, so I'm really enjoying this. I'm not a huge fan of the format in a way. I feel like it would have been better to listen to this on audiobook because the way it's written is like an audiobook. So yeah, I'm not entirely sure about the format yet, but I am really enjoying the plot. I am enjoying it. I'm not a huge fan of the format. I'm planning to finish it today. And that takes us to what I have not read, which is The Scandalous Lady W. But do not fear, I am going to go and read a chapter of this right now, or 2 chapters of this right now. Hello, I'm in my pajamas. They're very wintry for the summer, but still. So it's the end of Thursday, or nearly the end of Thursday. I haven't finished Interview with a Vampire, unfortunately. I've only read up to page 191, so I'm going to read more before I go to bed. Maybe try and get another 50 or so pages in, but I really don't think I'm going to finish it tonight, unfortunately. it's quite a lot more to read, and it's taking longer than I was expecting at this section. I have started the Scandalous Lady W though, and I'm definitely going to read more of this tonight. I'm up to chapter 5, and this is so interesting. It reads a lot like sort of some historical fiction, like a bodice ripper or something, or the events read a bit like that, but like the events actually happened, which makes it much more interesting, at least it does to me, and kind of it is very enjoyable. I really like Seymour, who's the woman involved in the divorce. Now I'm going to go read specifically these 2 books. Try and read another 50 pages of this, and then maybe 2 or 3 chapters of the Scandalous Lady W, and I shall see you in the morning. Hello and good morning. It's Friday, so it's the end of the week. I don't really have a reading update. Well, I have a bit of one, but I have more like my plans for reading for the day. So to start with, Interview with a Vampire. I read another 60 pages of this last night, and I'm now up to page 250. I'm going to try and finish this now because I've only got 50 pages to go, or 58 pages to go or something, so it should not take too long. I'm in 2 minds about this one because I love the aesthetic, I love the ideas, like the idea of the child vampire is so cool and so intensely creepy, and in general I just really like vampires, but also I feel like there almost isn't a plot in a way. Like bits of it feel very long-winded and things happen, but there doesn't really seem to be much linking them, which I guess is a fairly accurate description of life. But in general, it just seems to be the main character, Louis, struggling with existential angst. I do really like the writing style, but yeah, I'm a bit like, where's the plot? I do wonder if these sequels will be better because they're the ones I've heard more about. Who knows, it could really pick up in the final 50 pages. I am really curious about the boy he's with. I'm going to read the final 50 pages of this morning. As I've said, I do really like the writing style and the aesthetic, and I'm a big fan of all the characters. It's just the plot, I feel like nothing's happening. Then last night I also read a bit more of the Scandalous Lady W. I'm now up to page 62 of this, and I'm up to the point in which the lover and the wife, Seymour and Maurice Bissett, have eloped, and I'm realising I never actually explained what this was about in this vlog. The Scandalous Lady W is about Lady Seymour Worsley and her husband, Lord Richard Worsley, Sir Richard Worsley, sorry, who appeared to be like this perfect fairy tale marriage. However, it turned out the wife had been having an affair with George Maurice Bissett or Maurice George Bissett. I'm just going to call him Bissett. The wife had been having an affair with this gentleman called Bissett, and the husband had been watching the 2 of them have sex and engaging in rather voyeuristic things with them. And Seymour and Bissett ran off together, which, you know, kind of meant that everything came out into the open about what was going on. So this obviously caused a bit of a scandal in 18th century England because it wasn't really the thing normal couples did. It also raised questions about their children, Seymour's and Richard's, and if they were legitimate or illegitimate. And I'm just up to the bit where the lovers have eloped. So I'm about to get into the nitty-gritty of the court proceedings, which is very interesting. I'm really enjoying this so far. I'm going to try and read another 100 pages or so today. I'm currently on page 62. I think another 100 pages will get me like halfway through. And then finally, my final bit of reading plans for the day is that I want to start The Age of Innocence. Hopefully when I finish Interview with a Vampire, I would quite like to read again, say 100 pages of The Age of Innocence, maybe more. It'd be almost nice if I could read all of this in one sitting, but I don't think I'm going to manage reading that today. It's still Friday, but I finished Interview with a Vampire this morning. I'm giving this 4 out of 5 stars. I will admit by the end there was a plot. I am more interested again though in the boy, especially after the ending. I'm very much looking forward to the sequel, which is The Vampire Lestat. So that is exciting. Yeah, this was a fun read. It was a really cool autumnal book. I loved how gothic-y it was. That was all great. I did get Magnus Archives vibes from it, which again was brilliant because that is my favourite podcast. So that... Hello, hi, it's Saturday. It's quite late in the day because I'm terrible at vlogging, so I can't remember what my last reading update was. Today I have done more reading, specifically of these 2 beautiful books. Well, and another book, but I'll talk about these 2 first. So with The Age of Innocence, I've read more of this yesterday and today, and I'm now up to page 99. It is quite a slow read, however, I am really enjoying it. So I forgot to say what The Age of Innocence was actually about. The Age of Innocence is about Archer Newland, who is engaged to May Wellard in 1880s New York. And it all seems to be going perfectly until May's cousin, Ellen Olenska, turns up and Archer reconnects with her over childhood memories and begins to fall in love with her. And obviously this does not bode well for his relationship with May, and it's essentially about hypocrisy and the sort of very meaningless rules that govern New York society at this time. I do really like being inside Archer Newland's head. It's really interesting, this book, because it looks at the conventions of New York society and how they differ from European society, because obviously Ellen Olenska, this character, has come from Russian and European in general society and has come to America. It's also quite interesting. I'm planning to read more of this today and maybe get up to part 2, which is on page 147. There's no way I'm going to be able to do anything like finish it today, but if I could get up to book 2, that would be pretty nice. It is quite a lot still to read until I get there. I've been reading The Scandalous Lady W. I'm up to page 148 and I'm really curious because it looks like the court case is going to end in the next chapter, and I'm really interested to see how the rest of the book will go as I'm about halfway through. The Scandalous Lady W, it's very entertaining, as I keep saying. It's getting a bit darker at the moment. The kind of lengths that Lady Worsley went to sully her name in order to win this court case are quite impressive. But yeah, it is very fascinating to read and I am very much enjoying it, and will be continuing to read it today and hoping to read another 50 or so pages, and then I will only have another 60 or 70 pages to go. I don't know if I will finish it this weekend. I'm hoping to finish this tomorrow. I'm kind of also hoping to finish The Age of Innocence tomorrow, but somehow I feel like that might get taken into next week. But this one definitely I'm hoping to finish. And that brings us to the book I have started, and possibly the most exciting one in this video, and that is Cemetery Boys by Aiden Thomas. This is in its beautiful naked form. I've taken the dust jacket off because I don't want to get that like dirty or rip it or anything. So I've been listening to the audiobook of this while I do some cleaning this morning, and I really like it. I really love this book so far anyway. I've only listened to 2 chapters because I can't listen to audiobooks very fast, and this one in particular I'm listening to it on 1.3 times speed because I tried 1.5 last night and found that everything just went over my head. So in Cemetery Boys we follow Yadriel, who is trans, and he's determined to prove himself as a boy to his family, and in order to do this he decides to prove that he is a bruja, which is the magic the men of the family can do where they guide spirits from our world to the afterlife, and especially guide wayward spirits, as opposed to the bruja everyone thinks he is, which is what the women do, which is much more healing. So Yadriel decides to prove that he is a bruja and by doing the ceremony himself, and then that's about as far as I've got. That plot really dragged me in. And I mean, I know I shouldn't compare books, but comparing this to the other book I've read recently, which had people who took souls of the dead across to the other side, which was Bonecryer's Moon by Catherine Purdy, I've got to say that this one is so much more enjoyable to read. I don't know what it is about it. I think it's the characters. They're much more enjoyable. The magic system is much more interesting. It's very good and I'm very much enjoying it, and honestly I'm enjoying all the books I've read this week, which is always a win-win